In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create these nice rounded buttons on our X scale. So if I zoom in here, you will see here nicely, we have these nice curved buttons here within. So let's start to look how we can do this on the X scale. So let's start to look then how we can add the rounded borders on the X-axis labels in Chartjs. To do this, we first need our default code, which you can find here on chartjs3.com. Getting started, this specific link you can find as well in the description box. Once you're on here, copy this chunk of code. There we are. If you want to understand this code, make sure you watch this video here. So now I'm going to paste this all in there, and then I'll cut out the title, put the title in here, save, refresh. Alright, so now we have our bar chart here. What I want to do is maximize the size. So in here, 80%, save, refresh. That's better. Now what we're going to do is to put in these so-called buttons, and these buttons are being drawn within the canvas. What we want to do and want to make sure that the buttons will be behind the labels itself. So let's start to draw this. For that, we're going to create a custom plugin. So in here, after the options here, we put a comma, we say plugins, and then we're going to say a bracket, and we can call this our X rounded button plugin. Copy this, and this is our new object. So we're going to say constant this equals, and then say ID, and the ID will be equal to that. What I want to do here, just to specify that, we will just say here the plugin block. Next, in here, we're going to select here what we call the drawing time. As I indicated earlier, we have to draw it before we have the labels, or at least we have to make sure that the buttons will be behind the text, so the text will be on top of it. So this is very important. So to do this, we're going to say here before draw, you can just put it in like that. So before we draw anything else, this will be drawn first. And then we're going to say here chart, arcs, and plugin options. Once we have this in here, we're going to do an object destructuring, and if you don't understand object destructuring, I'm going to recommend you a video which you can find in the description box as well, which is called Understanding Chartjs Object Destructuring. Very important to understand. So what I'm going to do here, CTX, because we want to draw on the canvas. I'll be needing the data, we can get the scales, and most likely we can get the X and Y scales, and this will be equal to the chart object. So now what I want to do is I want to save everything. So I'm going to save all the values or the default structure we have here. We're going to save that, and now we can start to work on this. So what we want to do here now is basically we want to have a few items. Let's draw something first, and to do that I will specify the lines. So we're going to say here the line width, and let's give this of 2 pixels. That should be fine as a thick border. And then we're going to start working on drawing the item. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say ctx.begin path to indicate that no other item should be connected with this. This is a new shape independent of any other shapes here. So this is very important because sometimes you might notice lines or colors are being connected to your shape because it assumes that your shape is still connected with something else. So that's why we have this. Say this is our own new shape. What I want to do here is, well, first of all, we need to have here a color. So I'm going to say ctx.fill style. I'm going to select here as our background color, as the filler of the shape. Let's make this gray for now, or let's make this blue. And next, what I would like to have is, or I guess we can just grab here the upper colors here. Let's grab this one here, which is the light red color. Let's put that in there, and then we're going to say here ctx.stroke style for the border color. We're going to grab this same color, except this will be number 1. So it's a solid color. So now we have this. What I want to do next is to start to draw the shape. So I'm going to say ctx.move to, and in here we have the X and Y value, and this X and Y value is crucial for us. So what we're going to do here is basically use this to draw now the first part of the line, which would be, for example, here would be from up to down, left to right. Basically, we're going to create here 4 individual lines. So to do this, I need to know what is our x and y value. To find this, all we have to do is basically understand here, we have here the information, and we have here the information of the y and the x. So what I'm going to do here is the following. Let's do console log and just show you exactly what I need here. So if I do a console log here, and we can say here we have the x scale, and if I save this and then refresh, open up developer tab, we will get a lot of information here, and you can see here as well we have the top, the right, and all this kind of information. The top here is probably this item here from this point all the way to here, or this is the top. That's basically the chart area we call the bottom, but anyway, that's here the top. And if I move this, we should see here an adjustment of this number. As you can see here, the top is now, let's see, there we are. You can see now the top is about 300, which is correct because probably this point all the way down to here. So we have this top, that is the y value basically. So we can say here x dot top, because I want to start at this point. And then next what we want to do is we want to get the x value, and the x value is easier because we want to get basically the position of this. So for that, well, let's start to work on that. We're going to say here, and this is a built-in functionality in Chartjs, we say here x.get pixel for value, and let's say here index number 0. So once we have this, what I want to do more is, because this is only the starting point, now what I want to do is a connecting line. So we're going to make, this is the first dot and this is another dot that will be connected. So then here, let's say here, what I will do for now is just say plus 10 pixels. And once I did that, I'm going to draw the line. I'm going to say ctx.stroke, just to draw the line here first. Afterwards, we're going to work on this more. Let's save this and refresh. As you can see here, we're getting here, but it is exactly on this top, or basically the border of the chart area. It's just on this line here. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that this goes a bit more down, and later on we have the width of matching with the label that we have. So what I'm going to do here with the top, let's say here plus 3 pixels. And then here we're going to do as well plus 3 pixels. If I save this, refresh, you can see here now we get a bit more better shape, or at least slightly away from the top. So now we have this. What I want to do now is let's copy this and let's draw the next part of the line before we focus on the width of this. So we have here this part here. What we could do now is, if I want to go, for example, we are going from this point here, then I want to go down. In that case, I need to just increase here the amount of pixels. In this case, I'll just do 20. And the reason why I do 20 is basically this here has approximately 12 pixels in height. Basically, the font size is 12 pixels, so we should have some margin up and down. So I guess if we have here, we have maybe here 4 or 5 pixels up, 4 or 5 pixels down, makes it 20 pixels. Save this, refresh, there we are. Although maybe we need even a bit more, but we have to see on this one. What I do want to do now is start to extend the size of the pixels here. And how will we do this? Well, what I want to grab is the text here, and I want to measure the text point. But you can see here, when we get the index axis here, it starts at 0, or in the center here. It starts at the center of the text. So what we need to do here is to get the width of this. How do we get that? Remember here we have the data object. All we can do here is, if I do this now in here, save, refresh, open up developer tab, you will see here we get all the labels. So you can see here all the items. For now, what I want to do is I'm just going to grab here dot labels, and what I'm referring to is basically data to labels. Get one of the index. Let's do the index here of index 0. Very straightforward. If I save this, refresh, you can see here we get Monday. That's it. So this text is for me important. I'm going to grab this text, and what we can do in here, let's put it down here. I'm going to put that in here, and then I'm going to say here with the text the following. This, and then we're going to say here, what we're going to do here is constant text width, because I need to know the width of our label. So the text width will be equal to ctx dot measure text, which is a canvas command that allows us to measure how many pixels the text is. And what is the text I want? Well, that's this label here, and I'm going to grab the width value, so I get this. So once I have this, what I want to say is, remember, it starts at the center. So I don't want the text full width, but I want to figure out what is this divided by 2. So what I'm going to do here is, maybe we can just say here, I guess we can say here divide by 2 just to make it easy. Text width 2, let's call it like that. Copy this, and then I'm going to say here, this should be plus the text width. So let's save that, refresh. Alright, interesting. Of course it doesn't work like that because we have the starting point here. This should be of course negative. And the reason why is, we're going to put the negative, because if we start at the center here, negative would go the other center back here. And from there on, we can start to go here. So what I want to do here then is say plus text width. We'll keep this one as well. Let's save this, refresh. That works slightly better. We can probably have additional pixels in here. So what I can do here maybe is, let's say here with the text width, once we did that, let's say plus 3 pixels. Save that, so we have 3 pixels margin left and right. Save that. Refresh, you can see here that looks slightly better. Alright, now what we could do here, let's close that. Probably move this a little bit more down. So what I want to do here is, we have this part here. What I could do here is maybe move this a bit more down here. This could be maybe 6 pixels. Save, refresh. Alright, and I guess once we have the 6 pixels, maybe this should be 30 pixels. Alright, then what I want to do is, let's copy this and put that in here. But of course here I need to do again the negative. The reason why I need to go negative now is I need to go back. So if I save this, refresh. Alright, interesting, this is not working. We say here negative width plus that. Did I save that? Line 2, line 2. Alright, that should work, but alright, so let me explain why it doesn't work. I'm probably outside of the pixel area, so that's why it's being clipped off. So let me double check this or confirm this. If I do 20 and I save that, as you can see here, I'm getting outside of it. So what I can do here, maybe instead of 20, maybe 25. Alright, that looks better. Then we can say 25 here. We just have to explore a bit on testing the size here. So you can see here 25. I don't like this upper part here. Maybe what we can do here, let's make this 9. So I have 3 pixels lesser. Alright, that looks better. So now we have this part here. So what we need to do now is we need to close the shape. And the reason why we need to close the shape, so that all these lines understand that they are one single shape. Because if you would go a line, put a line, another line in there, going from here to up, you didn't close the shape, meaning that the background color later on will not respond. So this is very important. So what I'm going to do here, this is very easy, but we have to make sure that it's within the, or after the, or sorry, before the stroke command. The stroke command here draws the line. So if I say here, ctx.close path, which is basically the counterpart of begin path, then the shape will be fully closed. There we are. So once we did this, what I want to do here is finally is ctx.fill to draw the inner of the item. Alright, so now we have this here, but if I zoom in, you will see here the borders are still rectangle. So let's solve that item. To do this, quite simple, we're going to say ctx.line join, and then we're going to say equal round to make it rounded. Save that, refresh, and now if you look at this, let's see if you can see it very clearly. You can see here now we have nice rounded borders. Alright, we're done with this, but we're not completely done. What I want to do here is, I want to do it for each. So let's start to do a for loop here, or a for each loop. And what we're going to do now is, first of all, we're going to grab the values. And you can see here we have this value. This should be all together in a for loop. So what we basically need to do now is to create a for loop, or for each loop. And the for each loop will be based on our values that we need. Basically, what we need is, well, let's look at this. We get here the labels, and I guess what we can do here is just to get the index number And what do we need more? You can see here the index number, or maybe we can even do a for loop. If I look at it, a for loop would be fine as well. So what we're going to do here is very simple. We're going to say here for, and what we want to do here is then to figure out how many values we need. Oh, alright, I do see here maybe this value. Well, that can be in the for loop as well. So we're going to say here let I equals 0, and then we're going to say here we will loop I as long as we can grab here the data labels. We have the data labels, and then we're going to get here the length of this. So basically this is the length of 7. Then what we're going to do here is semicolon, and then we're going to say here I++ to automatically increment. Once we did this, we're going to cut all of this, put them all in here, proper indentation. What I want to do here as well is, as a reset, we're going to say here ctx.restore to reset everything back to its original save state at the very beginning. So once we have this, let's put that like that. Alright, then we have here this, and then we have here the I, and everything should be here working once we change this into the I. There we are. Finally here the colors. What I like to do here is to get the colors. So how do we get the colors here? Basically what we can do is we're going to say data sets index 0, because we only have one data set here, and then I'm going to say here this is the background color, so it's background color index I, and then finally here exactly the same, except now it is the border color. Let's save this, refresh, there we are, and now we have all of this, but I noticed that we have only one that is bolded. Alright, the reason why this happens is because we have here this item, and we did the restore, which resets everything. So I realized that maybe we can just remove this, so we don't have to do this redundancy here. But let's save that, refresh, there we are, and nothing else. Let's double check if nothing of our other items are being impacted by this, and I see nothing else. So that's basically it, and that's basically how we can create our nice rounded borders. If I zoom in now, you can see them, all of them are nicely rounded, beautiful. So there we are. So if you enjoyed this video, and maybe what you want to do is now to make this hover effect here, that your mouse cursor changes, and we could even make this clickable. I have 2 different videos for that. I'm going to recommend you the hover effect here. That's this one here, on how to change the cursor on hover on the X scale in Chartjs, which is a quite interesting one. And this one could be connected even with how to make it clickable as well. So those 2 videos are also, I would highly recommend to explore.